Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben, this is Trent, and we're recording live at the Smoked BBQ Co grand opening weekend. Hey family, hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. This is episode 123 of the Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue podcast, and as I just said at the top of the show, it's very exciting. I've got Trent Barrett here from Smoked BBQ Co, and this is the grand opening weekend of his new shop here on the Gold Coast. But before we get into that, I've just got a couple of announcements that I need to run by you. First of all is that we do still have our free mini ebook available for you on the website. It's the Beginner's Guide to Real Barbecue. So if you're just at the start of your journey, make sure you head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com, have a bit of a click around, bit of a scroll around. A pop-up is going to pop up and it's going to ask you to enter your details, and we'll shoot that mini ebook straight out to your inbox. Next, we've already locked in a couple of businesses that we're going to be partnering with over the next couple of months. The first couple of weeks are already filled out, so if you are still looking to get your barbecue message out to raving mad barbecue fans, hit me an email pretty quickly, ben@smokinghotconfessions.com. Otherwise, you're going to be booking a couple of months out. So if you want to get in soon, make sure you get in soon. And the last one, if you're watching this video on Facebook, make sure you give us a like and a share. If you're on YouTube, give us a subscribe, a follow, and hit that little notification bell so you get reminded each time we upload another video. If you're on Instagram TV, give us that little love heart and the follow as well, because we do love those cute little love hearts. And if you're listening on a podcast app, make sure you give us a 5-star rating and review, because that really helps the robot overlords tell everybody else that this is a good show and that they should watch it too. All right, so let's talk about today's episode. So we have Trent from the husband and wife team, Trent and Cassie, who've just opened a family store here on the Gold Coast, Smoked BBQ Co. And it's the Gold Coast's first dedicated low and slow barbecue shop. So that's really exciting. So without further ado, we'll be right back.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions Barbecue Podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
Alrighty, family. So here we are. We've got Trent from Smoked BBQ Co. Man, how are you today?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, mate. I am excited to be here, and I'm really excited for you as well. This is the grand opening weekend.
Pretty exciting. I think I'm more excited to have you here, to be honest.
That is very, very kind of you. All right, so tell me, first question I ask everybody, what was the last thing that you barbecued?
Last thing was brisket.
Brisket. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so give us the rundown. How did you do it?
That was a new trial and error of, so having a chef background, trying to layer quite a few flavours into this one. So it was a four layer of different rubs, and on the offset for about 4.5 hours, and then wrapped and finished off. Yeah.
Very nice. Sounds delicious. Can you tell us what those 4 rubs were? Or is that a secret combination?
No, I can. Was, funnily enough, 3 Little Pigs Touch Cherry is my base. The Deep South East sweet meat in the middle. The hardcore red, and finish with the hardcore black. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So did the bark come out kind of a reddish colour? Like did the red bleed through, or did it just come out black?
Yeah, pretty black. Well, a little bit of a red speckle to it. It's actually pretty interesting. So. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
On the slice, it did have the black and red, so it's pretty
so
cool.
Good, so good. Yeah. Now, you've got quite the range of barbecues here, but my question is, what is the barbecue that you've got at home that you cook on at home?
It's a custom offset, actually, built by a friend of mine. So, yeah, a little bit different, but offset's definitely my go-to. And in the process of Boss Barbecue being finished off to come to home. So that's been the long-term goal for quite some time. So,
yeah. Mate, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. How did you get into low and slow barbecue?
Low and slow came through from my chefing background and just meeting and working under my long-term mentor, who's US born. So from that came a weird and wonderful Christmas in July with candied yam, pies, green bean casseroles.
So
good. Whole deep fried turkeys, lots of weird and wonderful things that I've never heard of before. So it was good to be a part of that. After trying that, kind of blew my mind. And then it was a trip back to the States, obviously to Kansas, where the wife's from. And that changed the game for me. For meat, kind of ruined everything of my favourite meat here in Australia. And especially being a chef, that was a pretty big call. So that started the journey to want to be able to recreate and eat meat like I did over there, putting on 4.5-5 kilos in 3 weeks. So that's where it began. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Now, I was going to ask about that now because you did just mention that your wife is from Kansas City. So has her background kind of influenced what you're doing?
Most definitely. Yeah. Certainly runs strong in the family. Eating over there at some amazing restaurants, starting at Cassie Joe's and a few other pretty special ones. But I think I'd heard about Cassie Joe's for a long time, so to finally get there and see it, just how it worked on mechanics, from the lineup to the functionality. Obviously, being a chef, that kind of stood out to me. No bookings, limited seats, but it just turned itself over. It was pretty mind-blowing, and that was before getting to the food. I think every question every day was, can we go back and have barbecue? So, it changed the game, really, big influence. And I've always been super passionate about food. Meats, my dad was a butcher for most of his life, so grew up with good mates and a lot of tuition on breaking down bodies and special stuff. And it's been a big part of my passion throughout my chefing career. So this is the ultimate chance to combine both my passions in life and do it every day. So
yeah. Now, just looping back to Joe's, did you get to go to the original one where you go down underground under the gas station?
Not yet. No, that is on the list. So that's the one that we're aiming to get to next. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it. That's a funny story if we brought Cass in here now, but we won't do that. But no, next best is still KC's. But the other one I certainly love as well. So there's a couple of other, more modern ones there now too, which were great to try. But I think KC's was the standout for me. So
there's a few barbecue joints that are going quite upscale now over there. It's like barbecue's becoming fine dining.
Yeah, like really modern fit outs. I think that's why I really appreciate the KC Joe's fit outs. That I think real homely what barbecue kind of feels like, I suppose, over there. And then the more modern ones just didn't have the same feeling. The food was awesome, but completely different atmosphere, I suppose. So from the fit out to just a bit too modern. I got a tour through the kitchen, which was pretty awesome on the the whole setup from start to finish, but very modernised compared to KC Joe's. So I think I'll stick with the KC's.
Yeah, when we were there, we got to go to a couple of different ones. We went to Plowboys, to Slaps, and to Joe's the Garage.
Yep.
And it was funny. It was because the older the style fit out of the restaurant, the more barbecue it felt. Like it felt nicer. It felt better. I'd just basic tables, butcher's paper across the table, slap it down and hook into it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was, I don't know, the food tastes better in that kind of setting, 100%. Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about your chef background. How did you get into chefing?
I was pretty fanatic about food since a young age. I was always in the kitchen cooking with Dad, Mum, my nan. Kind of started there, was a very avid cook, so baking tea cakes and roasts and bits and pieces. That's where it kind of started. It was always in the blood. Did a few things before that and went out on a whim and bought my own restaurant, cafe, probably looking back, well before the time that I should have done that. But I like to bite off more than I can chew sometimes and figure it out backwards. So great learning. And then, knocked over an apprenticeship, found a really good chef who's been a long-term mentor to work under for my apprenticeship, and blossomed from there, just loved it. So on the coast for a while at a few different restaurants, Glass and a few others up here trying to push the bar. And then joined QT Hotels about 9 years ago. And the star of the show there was the whole pigs. So it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, no one really had any idea how to cook them. And I'd only done a few. My other half of my family's Kiwi, so I'd had a few hungies over time, but still nothing compared to using a gas oven. And chipped away at it every week, started going through 3-6 bodies a week. And it just became an art and something I loved. And off we went. So
Right. So were they smoker ovens or were they just gas assist ovens?
no, gas assist. So we had another pizza oven, which was gas and wood. So that was pretty cool. Obviously pizza's a big one, but everything from skillets to open cooked pots of lamb shanks in there.
Oh, wow.
Beef cheeks, even confit duck, doing it a different way in a wood-fired oven. So playing around with different ways to take, I suppose, technical dishes and change the game a little bit. So have a bit of fun with wood and fire. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. That's what it's all about. Yeah. Now, I understand that you have a bit of a connection to fire door, a bit of a 7 degrees of separation type connection. Tell us about that.
So it was my long-term mentor, US-born chef, George Francisco. So that's who I started with at QT Hotels. He started Fire Grill, which was kind of the original concept along the lines of Fire Door many years ago, which was a big hit in Sydney, and started working under him. Got to work in a few different places with him and his connections to Fire Door. So that's kind of what relates there. But yeah, that's kind of where it started for me with charcoal, wood, fire, obviously cornbread, the marshmallow pies, the candied yams, the green bean casserole, and off it went from there. So yeah, but worked under him for quite some time and took over from him, which I was lucky to do down in the Hunter Valley for the last 5.5 years, and looking after a couple of hatted restaurants, which was,
Did you say a couple of hundred restaurants?
A couple of hatted restaurants,
okay.
yeah. So
I thought you said a couple of hundred, like you were some district manager or something. I was like,
no,
damn.
definitely don't want to do that. No, so I was looking after, quite a big property, down the Hunter Valley for a while. So before that, Port Douglas, obviously, I was only meant to be away from home for a couple of years and ended up 9.5 years, and I've only been back here a month, and here we are. So in the last 4 weeks straight, building this.
Yeah, we can certainly relate to that. My wife went to Korea for 1 year to teach English, and 17 years later, she's now living in Australia. So we can certainly understand how plans kind of take a bit of a left turn there.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty incredible.
What do you think were some of the biggest lessons that you learnt working in that fire-based restaurant down in Sydney?
I suppose disciplines, appreciation for where food started, the indifferences in modernised, just where the world's gone compared to how out of touch I think people can get when that's just not a part of normal life, and it becomes so addictive. So many people already in the shop over the last couple of days, just getting into it, wanting to get away from the normal oven, just refusing to use ovens anymore and this and that. So getting in touch with, I think, the way it should be, respect for food, respect for produce, and not only that, right down to woods, and it goes so deep. So that to me, I'm really passionate about. I'm a nature freak and a nature lover. Always had, our own gardens, part of the restaurant where I came from. We grow a lot of our own produce, and the list goes on. So it sits pretty deep for me. So more so than just the food, but right down to the woods and where things are sourced, and so sustainability. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. So what do you grow at home that you bring into your barbecue recipes and things?
Up here, I literally did a border crossing in 36 hours to get back here before the borders shut.
Oh, right.
So I didn't even have a house to come to. So unfortunately, we don't have a garden up here at the moment. But I'm always growing weird and wonderful things. So from globe artichokes, like just things that are, I suppose, a bit out of the norm, right down to tomatoes. I love veggies in the smoker as well. I'm a bit of a fanatic for mushrooms. So cultivating our own mushrooms, and the list goes on and on. But more weird and wacky things, I suppose, than the normal. But normal things like eggplants and vice versa as well. But just depends what's in season and what I can get my hands on. So.
Yeah, some fire roasted eggplant is always amazing.
That capsicum, I've got a fallback go-to. So but different things, like even we were playing around at the restaurant with different lettuces, things that generally break the rules on that kind of cooking. So having a bit of fun.
Tell me about grilled lettuce, because that really sounds like something that just shouldn't happen.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't happen. A good snip of that is on the new Netflix series, I suppose. You'll see that. But baby cos, so taking actually whole baby cos, breaking them down to just the hearts and fire roasting those. playing around with wrapping them, unwrapped, charring them, blowtorch, marinating, unmarinating, some things along the line of, I suppose, kimchi, and then fire roasting that. Yeah, just playing around, trying to break the mold on, on things which is hard as a chef. It's a chef's dream to be creating something new is virtually impossible in the chef's world. So, yeah, trying to come up with something different.
Yeah, beautiful. So what would be some of the more original, more creative dishes that you've come up with doing all that kind of different fusiony type stuff you've been into?
A lot of them are different, like a lot of meat-based stuff with, I suppose, a bit out of the norm, things that we'd be using, I suppose, low and slow, like venison, whole venison legs, which is, a little bit out of the norm. These days I've seen lately a couple of whole beef shins and stuff like that. But yeah, big whole venison legs were a cracker. So on the bone, taking them off, rolling them, stuffing them, playing around with smoking those and seeing how they go. Right down to the likes of quail eggs, duck, a lot of my favourite kind of proteins, and seeing what results come. So just trying new things.
Yeah, I've never actually tried doing low and slow deer myself. Do you find that it's a bit lean for traditional low and slow style? Like, do you have to sort of take the temperatures up a bit more, or how do you?
Up in the beginning. So I felt what I found was pretty good was up in the beginning. I suppose similar to the cooking process in a commercial kitchen, sealing it, so to speak, and then dropping the temperature. Obviously, wrapping those, and what I like: red wine, Worcestershire, herbs, butter. Good mix, and then back in and let it do its thing. Come out nice and tender. Pretty much nearly in line with lamb shank tender. So it was pretty amazing. Yeah. So
God, that sounds delicious. Yeah,
a bit of fun.
Yeah. So as a chef, why do you think that there's this current resurgence of live fire cooking in fine dining situations?
Yeah, it's made a massive boom, especially over the last, let's say 12, 18 months. I Nelly restaurant in Brisbane, that an opportunity came up there for literally no electricity, just wood, charcoal, bam.
Oh, wow.
And now there's quite a few of those cropping up. So I think we've gone that far away from it. It's something new and exciting, but it's from the dawn of time as well. So I think it means a lot to people, and I don't think it's a fad. I think it's something that we should have a lot more of. And chefs are just getting so innovative with it. Like it's absolutely amazing. Fire door, list goes on. 22 Agnes in Brisbane, just some amazing stuff. Genius minds using what we used at the dawn of time, I suppose. So yeah, and with it comes excitement. And a lot of chefs, I suppose, really never get the opportunity to cook with fire and charcoal. It's commercial, gas stoves, big ovens, certainly a labour-intensive job. And I suppose the fire, the wood, the charcoal is bringing fun back into kitchens and a difference instead of just hot pan, turn your gas on, this kind of thing becomes certainly repetitive.
I was going to ask about the theatricality of it, about the visual appeal of that live fire. I went up to Cairns 2 years ago, and it was a work thing, and they took us out to dinner, and it was to a steakhouse, and it was just a giant charcoal grill, and all on wood, on logs, and the steaks were all grilled over the burning logs, and it was all behind a big glass window so everyone could see everything. So is there a certain element of theatre to it that's appealing?
Definitely, 100%. I suppose similar to, things Heston Blumenthal does and that, but now, that's not getting old, but in a sense, this is a whole new spin on that kind of theatrics that's, I think, even more exciting. People love that, and they love being able to see something that they've never seen before, especially in a restaurant. You go to a restaurant, you sit at a table, your meal comes out, off you go, So that's kind of, again, breaking the norm, just not in the kitchen for chefs and the evolution of learning for young chefs and getting in touch with wood, charcoal, and a different way of cooking. But for the customers, theatrics, people eat with their eyes well before they taste their food. And that's one thing I know a lot about. So, 100% theatrics are a big part of it, but you've got to be able to back it up as well. So it's, it's one thing to have a beautiful bit of charcoal come out, but you're eating your food and it's not good. It's not going to make much difference about the theatrics. So, but that's chef's life, I suppose. So.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
Alrighty, Trent. So now in this segment of the show, we're going to talk about your place now, Smoked BBQ Co. So this is the grand opening weekend.
It is.
How are you feeling?
I was super nervous and excited at the same time, but
was it kind of like Christmas morning?
It was, in a big way. Have days of just sheer terror and nerves, and then days of just super excited. I suppose putting it all on the line to do something you're super passionate about. Business is a big risk either way, but that all. I mean, it took all of 20 minutes after the doors opened to just be at peace and feel the best I've felt in years. With the first couple of customers and the joy that the store's brought to have a hub, to have a little bit of background with food and cooking, and it's just blossomed over, well, it's not even 3 days, to, over 100 people in. That the feedback's just been amazing. So I think more so than opening the doors and putting a little bit of money in the bank after 6 weeks of sheer terror. Of
all the money going out of the bank.
And watching it just go from, and to depleted. So more so than making sales, the most rewarding part, and I said that to Cassie driving home the first night, was just the warmth and seeing the joy that it brought to people to finally have somewhere to come and. That's why I put all 20 hours just in this big bench and people sitting around, stools, having a yarn. It's not just somewhere to come and, grab a few things and off you go. I want it to be a hub and a bit of a community and a place for people to come in that don't know much, have a chat, open the door, So, really rewarding.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, you got plenty of room out the back. You're going to put some smokers in there and start doing some food. They can come in, grab a brisket burger, grab a brisket, grab a smoker, that sort of thing.
We are looking at it. So I've got a few ideas that we want to work on. Cooking school, with my spin on things, obviously from the chefing background, I suppose a little bit more fusion than barbecue. There's many better barbecue gurus out there than myself. But putting that kind of bit of a fusion spin on things and a point of difference, obviously meat and stuff like that, giving people that good education. But we are looking at developing out the back. So turning into more of an area for people to, on the quiet, hopefully working with a few breweries at the moment to get a cheeky keg in here. People can have a sneaky beer and relax, sit out the back. We're looking at running a demo smoker on the weekends so people can have a bit of a pick, give food away. Not looking at selling cooked meats or anything like that, but long-term goal is to hopefully be able to have that as an addition to this if we grow. I'd love to be able to have this and a casual outlet for smoked meats and some cool fusion stuff. So
well, look, good luck with all that side of things, because I know the Gold Coast City Council can be quite they set the bar high. Let's just put it that way.
They do, So that's another hurdle, but anyway,
that's a challenge for another day.
Challenge, so it's all good. I look forward to it.
Yeah. So tell me, how did the idea for the store come about?
So I told the story earlier with the candied yams and whole deep fried turkey, which was mind-boggling.
That's quite dangerous, isn't it? Whole deep fried turkey?
Extremely dangerous. Yes. Yeah, within like a couple of degrees out and the kitchen's kind of gone. That's just a fireball. So, it is, but done the right way. And as I said, my mentor, American chef, showed me the ropes, and dropping the first turkey into a 50-litre pot of oil is something you'll remember for a long time. So doing it by yourself after being with someone's even worse. But that really sparked my interest. And it was just is this normal? Are these things normal over there? And just completely different to anything here, obviously, which it is. That sparked the interest. It was around the same time that I met my wife to be, who again is from Kansas City. So. Doesn't get much closer than that, I suppose. So, and that's where it started. The spark of interest, and then back over there for barbecue was absolutely mind blowing. Meat's been, such a big part of my cooking career, growing up, family, dad being a butcher, and it just changed everything to the point where I enjoyed it so much, but it almost made me sad. I was like, I got to go home, and how can we get this? So it actually started with being inspired, spending 16, 17 hours on a plane, chipping away at how I can come back here and open a barbecue restaurant. Being super busy as a chef, not a lot of time. Standard day for me was kind of 10 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. So not a lot of time to be chipping away at other things. Kept working on that for quite some time. And within that period, a few on the other side of the country, Sydney, started popping up. And I was looking into these guys and seeing the amount of time they've invested going to the States and spending a year, 2 years. And my appreciation for that was just mind-blowing. I know there's been a couple that I've listened to on the show. And I thought to myself, how wrong, I'd love to be able to do that. Can I? No, I can't. And I thought it'd be pretty wrong to go and try and do something. To me, that seems like doing it at 50% and not really respect to what these other people are doing and to the barbecue that you want to produce, So it didn't deter me, but it made me just rethink the concept and still my passion. How can I combine them and do something different? From that, obviously, comes the tale of things are so hard to get. There was no hub there. I got friends spending X amount of money on things and smokers and this and no real education, no one to really help. And that kind of resonated. I do have a bit of the gift of the gab, and when it comes to my passions, I rarely stop talking. So to be able to offer that and come with my background knowledge of food and my big passion, I suppose, for food in general, let alone barbecue, and put that into something that was new and unique, just grabbed me. And I sat on that for quite some time. I didn't even tell my dad or my closest friends. It was just Cassie that knew. And so I've been chipping away at that for 18 months, 2 years. And it came to a point where I was pretty sure I was going to be able to make this work. And I remember speaking to one of my best mates up here, and I said, I've got this idea, pitched it all to him. And then out of the blue, he said, you got to be kidding. I just went to a place in Cairns, just like what you're talking about. And I said, no way. I've researched this, man. You got to be kidding.
Would that be Cairns Barbecue Company?
Yeah, so he spends a fair bit of time up there. And I said, where is this? Are you sure? I'm telling him about the meats. And he was like my long-term mentor in chefing. And I thought, this can't be. I never want to do something or copy. Been trying to find something new, unique, and that hasn't been done before has been like a lifetime goal and super difficult to do. So anyway, my heart dropped, got off the phone, looked it up. I'm like, no way. And then I was reluctant to push forward with it because I thought, I don't want to be seen as, copying someone else's great idea. But at the same time, listening to Drew's podcast and speaking to other people that are up there, guy in the shop the other day that used to live in Cairns who knows Drew, and Drew used to get this special flour for his wings, and just the passion, the passion that I'd hear and everything. I thought, you know what, this guy sounds awesome. I haven't even had a chance to meet him. So Drew, I look forward to meeting him. And I thought, you know what, couldn't get any further away from Gold Coast to Cairns realistically, at least in Queensland anyway. And I thought, no, I'm going to push ahead, and not so much just for myself and for my wife, but for the community, to give and build something that is so exciting and rewarding, not just for me, but for everyone here on the coast. And as I said before, that's been the most rewarding part so far. So hence here we are. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you for me, it's super exciting. I've lived on the coast here for 12 years. And aside from the big name kind of chain barbecue stores, we've never had a niche boutique place like this, which is why I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, nice. Well, we're excited to have you. So one of my biggest moments I was waiting for you was for you to walk through the door. So it's pretty blown away. Super stoked. So
there you go. Yeah. So I guess then you've already mentioned Drew up in Cairns. There's of course the Cav down in Melbourne with his shop down there.
Yep.
Rick with RG in Adelaide. So there's this sort of concept popping up in different areas. And you've told me in the past that you were originally from the Central Coast of New South Wales.
Yeah.
Then spent time in the Hunter Valley. Why choose Gold Coast and not, say, Brisbane?
Well, it's funny, when I first reached out to you, I'd done a bit of research and there was a couple of similarities. We've lived in the suburb I grew up in. You've lived in.
Womberall, yeah.
Like most people don't know Womberall, right? That was mind-blowing. I was saying to Cassie again last night. But, yeah, grew up on the Central Coast, left there very reluctantly when I was about 12, 13 and came to the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast has more become home. Small family left. It's all here. As I said, when I went away, didn't expect to be away for 9 years. So I've been super pumped to get back here to the family, to all my mates. And this is home. This is where we want to be. This is where we want to have a family and a future. And so to bring it here couldn't be any better. When I started researching and looking, at the same time, knowing, there's nothing here for people. So what an amazing place to bring this for the community. So, yeah.
Fair enough. That certainly makes a lot of sense. Now, you did mention before that you had to rush across the border before the border closures.
Yeah.
You've opened a brand new store during COVID. That's very brave. How did COVID change your plans for launching the store?
There's quite a few stories to how it's changed it. Timing, number one, obviously, for everyone. We are, getting on nearly a month behind our original kind of opening date, but at the same time, all that kind of I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, and it kind of played out to work out just right for us. In other words, if we had have opened 4 weeks ago, we wouldn't have had anything. That's how cutthroat it's been. So a lot of the suppliers that I did want to use have been...
the supply shortages.
Yeah. Most people have literally had zero supplies waiting for shipments to come in.
Yeah, right. Wow.
COVID has definitely increased barbecue sales across the board, people staying at home, and that's coming from suppliers that have never run out of stock to being depleted and waiting for shipments to come in. And that goes right down the line, rubs, sauces. It's affected even our meats to a degree. So timing-wise, it kind of worked out just perfect. We'd just landed most of our gear in that last week. There's that side. The crossing the border side was a different story altogether. So I was literally at work, 6 o'clock at night, my brother rang and that's when the game had just changed up here and the Premier had made the announcement about shutting the borders down again, but this time not allowing anyone over the border once they were closed. I was mid-plan. I'd already signed a lease on the shop, but wasn't looking at opening for at least 2 months after that. So in other words, if I didn't get back across the border,
you weren't going to get back.
No, and I've got a leased shop with kind of cutthroat situation. Never leave anywhere on short notice, especially somewhere in one of the greatest places I've ever worked. Been there for 5.5 years. And having to ring the owners middle of service and say, I literally can't come back tomorrow. I have to go home and start packing my house.
Wow. So you had like a 24-hour window to get home, pack up and get over here.
So it was a bit under, about 36.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh. And
that's got to be stressful.
Yeah, it was extreme, yeah. I know how good my wife is at packing things now. So, so it was literally, I didn't finish, and not only that, but a team that I'd worked with for most of them 4 years. Very much a family. So pretty soul destroying to be saying goodbye to people. So I had to do the rounds, let people know. I didn't get out of work till midnight. I'd come home and Cassie had packed up a big chunk of the house, but we literally went right through until 5 o'clock in the morning. Had, I think, 3 hours sleep, got up and packed all the way till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then in the car and across the border.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah. So no house to come to, 2 dogs, two stuffies, one substantially bigger than the other, in a little Fiesta, and my truck pouring down rain the whole way with Cassie driving behind me, and the size of my wheels and her windscreen wipers don't really go together. So she wasn't overly impressed with me, so to speak.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah.
So that's COVID for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So what are some of the things that just sort of fell into place, like just serendipitously happened for you when you were getting it set up?
Literally, and going back to it, massive believer in everything happens for a reason. And I'm talking like nearly every single thing. So I had days where I'm like, this is crazy. And then the next thing that I thought was unachievable would just fall into place. So from building relationships, trying to achieve a vision where I don't want to have every product that's the same as another place, to bring, creative products, innovative, well-priced, that people can buy 6 different things and taste the difference between them, quality. Another huge part to the store, which is super important, was Aussie guys and Aussie focus. So one half of the shop is dedicated to all our Australian guys. So achieving that took some time. In the middle of that, working out budgets and forecasts and everything for the business and figuring out a dollar value for what I had. I funded it all myself and I didn't want to do it any other way. And then when I got to that point, I thought, one thing I didn't really think about was a shop fit. And pretty stupid, right? And I'm like, shop fit. So I started talking to my dad and he's like, 25, 35, 40 grand. I'm like, all right, well, that might be the end of that. So this was one big one, for example. And I thought, I know a lot of people up here in a lot of different industries, but don't know anyone shop fitting. Made a call to one of my best mates and within 2 minutes had a name, ended up on a 3-way phone call about half an hour later. And there you go. Next thing, a guy that's just loves wood. I wanted to have that feel of wood, obviously relating to barbecue and all the rest of it. But just this industrial / raw organic feel to find. I'd reached out to a few shop fitters and they're just like, we do a plan. This is what we do. You pay for this, you do that. And I'm like, it's not what I want. So I said to Cassie, I think this is kind of the hurdle that we're not going to get over. Not only that, to do that in a shop fit when I'd completely etched it out of the budget was difficult. So I'm like, this is the draw card. And anyway, being a great guy he was and a good connection of friends, jumped on board and on a pretty tight budget. The two of us did it ourselves. And brought it to life. So things like that. And then that would lead into then timing on, when I could land things or can I get across the border in 36 hours? And literally every single step just kept falling into place. And that's what started to really give me confidence that I'm on the right path. And it's not the answer and it's certainly not going to mean that, we're going to be successful, but
it's a good indicator.
Instinct I go off, So hopefully, Anyway,
yeah. Now I'm glad that you mentioned the product range there, because you do have you've sort of split the shop into one side imported, one side Australian gear. Yep. You've got almost everything from every major Australian player in the barbecue scene here, which is just beautiful that you're supporting the Aussie low and slow barbecue scene as well. But I can see that you're also trying to balance things. You've got Napoleons. And you've got Camp Chef and GMG, and you've kind of got two sides of everything there. How did you go about selecting the products?
So I think the easy way to kind of get my vision across was the vision that I wanted was, again, not all the same things that you can get everywhere else. It's really hard to do. So if I could have had every single thing that you couldn't get anywhere else, that was what I wanted, but it's not achievable. But to be able to deliver that on as many levels, from rubs and sauces through to wood, smokers, meats, all the rest of it, I did not want to bend from that. That was kind of the middle ground for me and to stick to. And that was difficult, and it was persistence, and no one knew me. It's reaching out, trying to build relationships and let people know my background, my passion, where my wife's from, why we want to do it. And you know what? Just blown away at the amount of beautiful, happy, helpful people that helps us get to where we are. And they're all mostly the Australian guys. 98% of them. So couldn't thank them enough. But in that vision, what I wanted to do was be able to provide something with that vision and that quality and that uniqueness as much as possible, but still offer the points where a beginner who knows nothing can come in here and spend $300.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a product that's quality, that's going to last them. They're going to have some knowledge, some backing, someone they can, I tell most people, if you want to ring me, ring me. Cassie had to stop me from putting my mobile number on the cards because at the end of the day, she's like, you're talking off to, so, but that kind of thing where I just think, I want to do it. It's my passion. So the cross up of products was bringing what I believe, is quality, but at an entry level, at a mid-range level, and then the duck's nuts, like the boss gear. And having relationships like this with, people like Boss is just next level for me. Being able to cater to all those different levels, and that's not just for barbecues. As I said, it's from the charcoal, the wood, rod, right through to the rubs and sauces. So, that's was, I suppose, the hard push to try and see, is this possible to do? Yeah. So
I was going to bring up the wood actually, because you've got basically like a smorgasbord of Ministry of Wood products down there, which is just awesome because Rod's been a long time supporter of Smoking Hot Confessions as well. Yeah. So I was really tickled to come in here and just see such a huge spread down there. So that's really impressive.
Yeah, and Rod's been one of the greatest helps I've had along the way. Wonderful guy. Absolutely love him to bits. Loves to come in and sit down and have a chat, and which I know he's known for, but no, he's actually just genuinely wonderful and given a lot of help and inspiration. The product's awesome. I don't think I'd have anything else in here as long as I can get that. And not only that, but local. Like, that was another thing that fell into place. I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out how to get natural smoke up here. And I'd put feelers out to Garden of Smoke and other woods that I believe are of that quality. And Russ was another massive one who's, you couldn't get a nicer guy again, who's still helping and supporting along the way. And I'm still trying to work on, due to shipping and a few other things and COVID, to get a few of the products in here. Another thing that fell into place was then finding a rod and being like, 15, 20 minutes away.
He's just in Robina.
It was brilliant. I thought it doesn't get any closer to home and the vision that, I'm really trying to push and stick to. It's very easy to get off track with these awesome products that are here, there and everywhere, but I want to stick to trying to be able to support local and push that vein, where possible. So, so here we are.
You're listening to the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with massive barbecue nerd Ben Arnott.
Alrighty, so now we're into the third segment. This is our lesson sort of angle on the episode. Now, we've been talking about fine dining and how barbecue is becoming fused with some fine dining traditions. I understand that you've had a bit of experience sort of bringing in some barbecue elements into a 5-course degustation. Tell us about that.
So, from the passion that's grown over the years for charcoal and fire and wanting to, I suppose, have that as the main element of my kitchen, or really wasn't able to do it in the space that we had in the age of the building. So trying to get an inbuilt charcoal unit to hopefully do a 5 or a 7-course degustation only cooked over charcoal or elements of wood. Really pushed for that until I think I drove the owners mad. And they were great. They really wanted it. And we looked at every avenue to try and fit this into, a building that's attached to a cottage that's like 120 years old. So
wow. So it's like a heritage listed building.
Heritage listed property in the Hunter Valley. Yeah. So it was built in 1876, sorry. And kind of risking a bit burning that to the ground, I suppose. So, I had to give in at some point. And then the next best was trying to add elements, of barbecue, charcoal, wood to degustation. So, so from playing around with different things, serving oysters being cooked on their own little bit of charcoal in the shell, right through to prawns, scallops, scampi. I've even tickled around with a little bit of lobster. Yeah, whitefish, obviously meat's a big part of it. So wallaby was a great one.
That's interesting. Some indigenous meats and flavours there.
Yeah, so my kind of, I suppose, absolute love is Australian natives, which are super underused and a lot of people still don't really know much about them. But you can make meals solely off what grows on our beach shores. It's phenomenal. So sea grapes was another one done over charcoal.
Sea grapes?
Yeah, and I mean, you head down some of the beaches nearby here and you'll still find sea grapes.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. A nice lick. Changes, so generally, inside, obviously, tastes like the ocean, but licked over charcoal, change the flavour of the liquid inside the sea grapes.
Okay.
Sea asparagus as well was a really good one. Kakala, which is like a beach banana, I suppose, for the Aboriginals, quite plump and juicy. Again, awesome over charcoal. And then Australian meats, and it kind of sounds bad in one sense. At one point, we had the whole national emblem on the menu, which I suppose
we are actually the only country in the world that eats the two animals that are on the national emblem. So there you go.
So I didn't really think about that until someone said it out loud and kind of got the kangaroo off there pretty quickly. But the wallaby, big depth of flavour, fantastic product and great, just literally lightly salt cured on a salt block and finished straight over a nice little piece of charcoal. So semi-cooked, by the time it leaves the kitchen to the table, it's kind of that medium rare take on nice thin strips. The saltiness already from the salt cure or the salt block.
Yep.
And the dynamics of the meat changes so much, obviously, with that charcoal presence. So, so having a good play around with a lot of things, some of them that I probably shouldn't be, but that's what I like to do, break the mould. So, yeah.
Oh, that sort of creativity is what it's all about, yeah. So if there were people listening or watching this video right now, what would be your advice for those people that want to really put on like a 5-course spread at home? So let's just say they've got one of your Napoleon kettle grills there,
yep,
and some of your B&B charcoal. What would be your advice for putting on to really impress their family and friends and do that 5-course degustation at home?
Well, come on. I mean, hopefully you like meat and seafood. I think a good 5-course is a good mix for me of meat, smoked veggies, either charcoal licked or smoked, and so meat, seafood and veg if you can. Break that up. Desserts, if you want to go right into it, start smoking some ice cream, yogurts, that's pretty cool, very easy. Smoke yogurt, turn them into sorbets, a million things to do. But
wow.
The list goes on and on. I mean, smoked milk, we smoke water for ice cubes at the restaurant for the bar.
Really?
So, for whiskies and
I was going to ask, is that how you make the cheap whiskey sound a bit more, taste a bit more fancy?
Yeah, it could do. Yeah.
Yes, it's been aged 150 years. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so cool things like that. So, and it sounds a lot more difficult than it is, but it's really not. So, pick your proteins, mix them with veg, like a bit of a spread. And cool stuff. Instead of it just being on the kettle, I like to take over the kettle is one thing. Taking charcoal out and literally having it cook on the piece of charcoal is something completely different. Smoldering herbs and things like this that are very easy to do. They light up, very easy. And blow them out, and they will smoulder. Rosemary is a really good one for that. Under things like, again, the wallaby, any meats, seafood reacts really well to thyme, lemon thyme, just smouldering. Really easy things to do. Take a couple of coals out, on a nice plate or tray, and protein straight on top of the charcoal. It's phenomenal. So, same thing with little beds of woods or nests. So, used to use a lot of hay, and a very good chef I used to work with. His love for hay got brought into the kitchen. So hay smoked, whether it be chickens and this and that. Stock made from hay as well.
Really?
Pretty
Stock
cool
made
stuff.
from hay?
Yeah, hay stock to go into different things.
Wow,
but
that's interesting.
That's a long story. Yeah, it's quite endless what you can do. So that whole fusion, I suppose, the chefing side of me, breaking the mold on things, I suppose, a bit where I can. But yeah, and not hard to get. I mean, sometimes we'd have to go to the local pet shop and buy a bundle of hay, you know, just get a good quality hay. And so like chicken, fish, like nice light seafoods, scallops, prawns, things like that. Literally, nice little bit of hay, some herbs in there, and then a little bit of charcoal straight in, let it do its thing. You'd be amazed. So beautiful. It's just playing around with things. It's super creative what you can come up with.
So is there are there certain rules regarding the order that things should be? So like, do you start light with some light seafood, prawns, and then maybe 2 vegetables, and then a steak, and then the dessert? Like, is there a certain formula of progression?
Always, light to heavy, and especially I know a lot of people like their wine, right? So it's always good to great pairings, and I suppose that's another thing. You know, we used to do pairings with these meals, and certain wines will just complement what you've done with a little bit of smoke and charcoal in a dish. That's another whole story. But yes, light to heavy. So I like to go a little bit of seafood, a light meat, heavier seafood, and then into like the venisons and the deep, rich wallabies and things like that towards the end. If you're going to have Wagyu in there, finish on a Wagyu, nice, fatty.
Big, rich flavour. Yeah,
that's it. And, and leave that nice coat on the palate to end with. And obviously, desserts coming at the end. So, some sweet treats in between. We used to call them palate cleansers and, things like that. You get pretty creative. So we were doing taking different juices, smoking them, and then making granitas out of them. So like smoked apple granita and like peach. I've played around dragon fruits, like quite a lot of stuff. Which again, it's not that difficult to do. Granita, nothing hard about it at all. So in between the courses, these cool other smoked elements that are not a protein, they're not a vegetable. They're just a bit of a play and a mind boggle. You know, people used to do it at the restaurant, and people like, what is this? You know, like this has come from a freezer and it's smoked, and it's same as yogurt. Like yogurt's an easy one, but you like for a chef when you get your head around it, but like people in a restaurant that aren't in commercial kitchens are like, how the hell do you smoke yogurt? You know,
that's a good question. How the hell do you smoke yogurt?
So for me, I like to, and it's probably maybe a little bit frowned upon, but for things like that, can be done, I suppose, in a smoker definitely. For home use, if we're getting back to it for people, smoking gun is a fantastic little product. Getting the right additives to go into it, so I use this kind of wood chips and break them down. Yep. Pretty easy. And then just a nice, like a real wide bowl. So your yogurt's got a good coverage of space for the smoke. Double glad wrap, nice little hole for your tube to go in. Light that bad boy up, let it smoke.
So it's a cold smoking process.
Cold smoking process, for yogurt. And pull it out, obviously, let that sit, and it's something cool to watch. Unless you've got loose gladder up or whatever else, obviously smoke will pour out. But even when it's super tight, the smoke will just slowly, over 10, 15 minutes disappear. Once that does, it'll start to coat the top of the yogurt. So after each time it disappears, give it a good mix, re-smoke. So generally, depending on the wood you're using, 3 to 6 times, and you'll have super, super tasty smoked yogurt, It
sounds so good.
Yeah.
I would never have thought of that before.
It's delicious. It really is. Like even on brekkie, smoked yogurt and strawberries and blueberries and things like this is just, next level, kind of changes the game. So
Awesome. Yeah. Well, listen, man, that's probably a good point to start wrapping this episode up. So I'm going to throw it over to you now. Give some shout-outs to who you want to give shout-outs to, say thanks, and then tell everybody where they can track down Smoked BBQ Co on the internet.
So obviously the usual suspects, Facebook and Instagram, Smoked BBQ Co, that's as it reads. Obviously we are Gold Coast and located in Miami, right on the highway, so great end of town. A lot of great locals have been jumping on board to support us, and amazed how many people within walking distance firing up pits. It's been pretty rewarding. Massive thank you. There's a huge list. So like obviously Rod, Ministry of Smoke, Russ from Natural Smoke, the list goes on and on and on. Rub and Grub, Rub Red Raw. Some of these guys have been like an inspirational help with motivation and pushing to just be like, this is awesome, do it, you know, even in times where I'm like, I think this is crazy. So those guys, and I haven't even met them, honestly, means so much, I suppose more than they'd really know. Their conversations and their emails and their pushes and their support and positivity, that combined with my wife and my brother are what pushed me finally over the edge to take the plunge. So Brett from Lanes, super supportive. Napoleon, GMG guys have been awesome. And I think the biggest shout out when it comes to, you know, our equipment is to the guys at Boss. Kelly and Clint, just absolutely awesome, amazing people. Got to spend a few hours with him today before this. I just don't think I could be in better hands and have better products on the floor, and better people to be trying to showcase that are local. So, there's probably a list of other people, but big thank you to all the ones I've missed. So,
Beautiful, man, beautiful.
Yeah, easy.
So I just want to say thank you for having me in the shop here. Thank you for building the shop, first of all. And then thank you for having me here and letting me take up your afternoon on the grand opening weekend.
No, I was, I said to you the other day, and you're my kind of barbecue celebrity, so seeing you walk in the door
that's very, very generous.
in a lot of ways, for a lot of reasons. I was absolutely stoked to see you walk through the door. Mind blown, and you don't have to thank me. I'm super, super privileged to be on here as a chef, and my background and just trying to bring my passions to life. So I can't thank you enough. I'm stoked. So yeah.
Alrighty, so there you have it, folks. That was Trent from Smoked BBQ Co. We've been talking on the Sunday afternoon of the grand opening weekend. There's been people coming and going all day, and it's been actually all weekend, and it's been great to see just how much the community has embraced this shop. So before we go, just to give you a quick reminder, if you are looking to work with Smoking Hot Confessions, shoot me an email, ben@smokinghotconfessions.com. We'll get you sorted out there. And I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who's been a part of this show so far, and looking forward to working with more of you again in the future. And just last reminder, if you are watching on Facebook, give us a like and a share. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a subscribe, a follow, and hit that little notification bell. Don't forget that. That's the most important part. If you're on IGTV, give us that cute little love heart. I love that thing. Give us a follow as well. And if you're listening on a podcast app, especially if you're listening on an Apple device, give us a 5-star rating and review. It really, as I said at the top, it helps the robot overlords know that you like the show and you think other people should like it as well. So that's it from me. I'm going to say once again, thank you to Trent. And until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to smokinghotconfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.